What's up? What's up? Let's talk crypto. What's up? Let's talk crypto. I'm here with my friend and my main man, Big Jonas. How are we doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, Chance, how are you tonight? Happy to be here, man. Happy to talk some crypto with you. Lots of incredible price action today. Lots of moves, lots of coins to talk about, discuss. Happy to see everybody looking to get some good information and some positive vibes tonight on Crypto Chat.
All right. I think we're having a great show tonight. We have a lot of stuff we're looking forward to talking about. It's gonna be a nice show tonight. I know it says at the bottom, charting crypto with Cheds, but we had a nice little epiphany. We are going to be called Let's Talk Crypto. That's what we're doing, and I want you guys to join the conversation. And that's really what it's all about. Is we work together, we talk it out, and we kind of find out, what the best course of action is, and that's the give and take is really where you get that nice result. So, regardless. I digress, as they say. I digress. Tuesday, March 20th, 2018, folks. We're going to start out real quick. We're going to jump right in real fast, lightning analysis on the major coins. We're going to get you real caught up, get you that fix so you have a good feeling of where you are. Real quickly, Big Chodas, I feel like a lot of panic I see out there is people, it's like because they don't know where you are, right? It's like, oh, is it bearish? Is it bullish? It moved up $100. When you feel like you have a good sense of like the channel or kind of almost like a medium term direction of it, it's a little bit easier. You feel a little less anxious. What do you think?
The saying that the trend is your friend, and I think if you believe in the current trend, because trends change pretty quickly, the volatility in crypto is definitely there. So if you believe in the current trend, if you believe we're actually in a bullish trend for the moment, then it's basically what you're looking for is a healthy market move. You can't go straight up all the time. Pullbacks are needed, resets are needed. I think kind of what we're seeing here is that kind of move play out when we potentially bottomed a few days ago. And what I'm liking about the price action here is
let's do it. Let's pull up the chart. Let's get people a little sense of control here. Let's give them a good feeling of where we are.
So we just had an incredible move here off our lows of about 72.50, 7,300, depending upon which exchange you're on. Great volume too, past several days here.
So Coinbase and we have Bitfinex, so both.
Okay, great, yeah, and you see it's the arbitrage on these things is only off by like $100 or so, but it's interesting to kind of have a little perspective of both. So I'm looking now $4 actually currently, so that's good. On volatile moves though, there are larger different discrepancies there. So we basically had a major bullish move here and been that way for the past 24, 48 hours. A couple things to notice here is we had an incredible impulse wave basically after our bottom, and then what we began to see is kind of this upward flagging momentum here where we're consolidating in a very bullish way. Had a couple breakout attempts, kind of pushed back a little bit, and those basically based on previous resistance point when we're coming down. Those now become resistance points that basically, when you surpass them, become support points. So basically, we're able to break through several walls on the way up on this current trajectory here. And kind of what we're seeing right now, I believe, is a consolidation from our previous impulse wave that pushed us almost. Actually, we did break 9,000 briefly on a couple exchanges. I think I saw it 9,048. Which was great to see, but we kind of, on the 1 hour here, and about 3 hours ago, we saw, what would you call that, a shooting star?
Yeah, we saw a shooting star. What's interesting, what just jumped out to me is I pulled out here, look, inverse head and shoulders on the 1 hour. Head, shoulder, and you could argue neckline break. So this is a small pattern where you got this, the head and the two shoulders. So that's kind of interesting, but that's like a small pattern within other larger patterns, because then you have your bullish pennant here. So I'm just going to jump back. It's the end of the day. We want to talk about a daily candle close. So still, here's the bigger picture, folks. All right. We're in a large bull pennant. Okay. I had some guys say, hey, the fact of the matter is the longer trend here is we're in a downtrend. Well, how is the longer trend? If we start on if we start our trend in December, right? Then the longer trend is a downtrend, right? So I don't think so. Okay, it's a bull pennant, but we're really bouncing between, we're range bound. We're bouncing between an upper trend line and a lower trend line. And I'm gonna just real quickly, I'm gonna I'm going to reference something I said a little while ago on Twitter. Let's go ahead and find that. It's going to be right here. So what I said was, this was 12 days ago. I said, here's my thesis. This is when we're starting to pull back. And this is when we're starting to pull back. This is after, like 5 or 6 days down, right? And I said, okay, it's probably going to test a lower trend line. It doesn't mean it's going to go straight down and test it, but it's going to test this, most likely test this lower trend line. And the gist of what I was saying was, if it tests it depends on how it tests it, Jonas, right? And by the way, this is Ched's. I'm here with my man, Big Jonas. The way it tests it is important, because if it tests it during like an intraday move where it has that big like flash gap down, right? And then it can close above, that's a really good signal. So when I made this tweet, I didn't say this is exactly how it's going to test the lower trend line, and this is exactly when it's going to test it. I basically just said if it does test it, okay, and it can hold it, and it can close above it, those basic facts would suggest some type of a bullish reversal. So let's just look at this tweet, this chart. Let's look at what happened. It was right here. I said if it tests a lower trend line and it closes, it will hold it. So what happened was it had a tiny peak, had a little peak here, okay, and then a little bit of sideways action. It went down. It tested the lower trend line twice. Big Jonas, look, we had the dip below and the close above, and lo and behold, everyone's surprised. We're starting to come back up, right? So now, what am I saying now? Okay, we're probably going to test the upper trend line. Doesn't mean we're going to go straight up and test it, because we could go up here, we could get rejected at the middle Bollinger, we could go sideways while the other metrics reset, like a 4 hour or whatever you want, and then it could test the upper trend line at 10.3. What do you think?
Well, let's use history here as our example. So when we bottomed back on the 5th and 6th there, what happened? We had an incredible impulse wave that brought us up to there. That entire wave there basically brought us up to 11,000. That was an incredible move there. I don't think we're going to get something that impulsive. And I think because we drew this top line here, that's where we're going to hit. And it's not going to happen. I mean, if you think about it on the daily here, this is going to play out over the next week. I mean, this is clearly going to play out over the next week. And here's why I think that. Because our current trajectory here is very bullish. And for that bullish move to really continue with consolidation, you have to let these impulse waves kind of, tire themselves out. So I'm going to go into the hourly here. We basically have boom 1, boom 2, boom 3 massive impulse waves there. And every time they occur, you need this kind of chilling out period to kind of allow the consolidation to happen. Every time the Bollingers keep pinching there, and that's something you really want to follow, is when the Bollingers get tighter and tighter, a move is about to happen. And if you're in a bullish momentum move there, an upward push is interesting. Now the 1 hour there, we're seeing a reset begin to start happening here on the Stockin. It's coming back down. That's fine. A nice kind of easy curve over. We didn't have a super peak and a dip, which means we didn't impulse too high. I like the kind of ease of the market right now. Kind of broaden out here to the 4 hour. And we have been topped off for a day, 24 hours here. Super bullish. And I actually want to zoom out just one more moment here and see, can I find a time on the 4 hour where we were super topped off like this? And honestly, right back when we actually bottomed the last time, we were topped off for quite a while there. And the correction, though slightly deep, that's not bad there, which gave us basically one more move up. And then we actually had the real correction. But look what happened after we bottomed that real correction there. 4, 5. So we really have a long continuation there with a impulse wave 1, a pullback on wave 2, not too big, a very long wave 3, almost an equivalent pullback, slightly smaller on 4 because wave 2 was actually a little bit larger, and then kind of a truncated 5, but not bad as well. And once that was it, we were basically topped off there, corrected, and try to get one more push up there on another 5-wave cycle, and then we have our most recent correction here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to follow some sort of a similar pattern, just on a lower scale, because now our trend line angled from history back from the peak, and actually if we go to log, there we go, from the peak, double touch, almost triple touch, but we'll just call it close enough, horseshoes and hand grenades. And now I believe we're going to hit it again somewhere over here, Now, timing is interesting, but I'm telling you, like at least a week. This can take some time here.
I mean, I just think that's fantastic. Really, really good analysis. I was just watching that, and I was just like, God, that's good stuff here. It's interesting. When people look at a chart, and I'll post a chart sometimes, and I'll say this, this looks bullish to me, and rightly so. People will say, but the stock RSI is high, right? Isn't that high? So that's a great point. And what's interesting is here's a kind of an interesting example. Okay, the stock RSI is high here, 84, but it still ran to 9, right? It still ran to 9 because what you see is it can sometimes even consolidate within the overbought zone. So you can actually see a bullish cross from within overbought, right? So that's like a really interesting phenomenon. So then you say in any type of like really good chart analysis, you kind of want to look back and you're going to see where have I seen this pattern before, and we're going to jump over to Litecoin too, and we're going to kind of get the roll after that, keep rolling after that. But you say where has it done this before? You were rightly pointing that out. That was a really good call because you said right here, right? All of a sudden you're selling out here. Oh, stock RSI is topped off, and then boom, it kept going. It kept going, right? So that was a really good point. And then I wanted to say, hey, how well are the Bollinger Bands playing on this chart? This is why I tweeted earlier. I don't get why people aren't using them. Look at here. Okay, Bitcoin, lower Bollinger dip. Okay, it failed. You'd have to find some type of a signal here. But oversold, upper, off. Oversold, upper. Oversold, upper. I mean, this thing is staying in the Bollinger Bands. So as a general rule, price movements outside of the bands are price movements outside of standard deviation, which you should kind of factor in your profit taking. Let's roll on to Litecoin. Litecoin was really interesting earlier. What I had noticed, I was watching, and it looks like my good friend Big Jonas has drawn on the chart like my daughter might draw on something. I'll go and then you go real quick. What I was going to point out is, I'm mesmerized by the lines. So what I was pointing out earlier is, was it a 15-minute? That was really tight. Well, I just had basically these trend lines where it's going from lower, upper, right, and you basically saying to yourself, I'm not sure what it's doing. It kind of looks like it's in a bull pennant, right? Big Jonas. It looks like it's in a bull pennant, so you're looking for a signal. You're always just sitting around looking for a signal, and here it was on the break. So you had a nice break, and this is what stuck out for me, and I passed on that signal. And real quickly, guys, before actually we'll do it after Litecoin. So yeah, right here, it's reconsolidating. So you have a similar thing where you have flagpole consolidation. But Big Jonas, what are we seeing here? I'm seeing some really nice Elliott wave work. I know you've been studying Phil Lacone's videos, and he is a excellent trader with that method. What do we see here?
Well, Chad, I gotta be honest with you. I was not too familiar with the whole Elliott wave theory and basically the patterns of 5, patterns of 3. I really hadn't incorporated that into my trading previously, really until I started trading crypto and kind of got a little sense of what really smart people were talking about. And the Elliott wave has really kind of changed the way I've look at charts now. I mean, I always felt like I was trying to find patterns in terms of trend lines and other indicators, and there's fantastic information you can obtain from all that. But the whole Elliott wave thing is so interesting to me because it's not about patterns and stuff. It's almost about the human brain and like what induces a momentum in a certain direction. And it's like, do I want to buy something? Do I not want to buy something? Do I really want to buy something? Do I pull back a little bit, and then do I kind of put my finishing move here? So I wanted to kind of draw what I felt is going on in my amateur Elliott wave masterpiece here, and kind of zoom in a little bit to the half hour here. And basically what we have here is, here's our bottom 137 area. Okay, so basically we have our first impulse wave, our little pullback on 2, 3, which is basically the longest, never the shortest. We had our 4 pullback. Notice the 4 was larger than the 1, 2, and that's basically an Elliott wave rule. If the 1, 2 was larger, then the 3, 4 would potentially be smaller. And then I believe this is called a truncated 5th wave here, almost a failed 5th, where this should have been higher than 3, but kind of failed. And that basically brought us our ABC correction, ABCDE correction, which started our next impulse Elliott wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which basically brought us to our next ABC correction. And I believe we are currently in our next Elliott wave. Go the hourly here. And basically what I think is going to happen here is because of this Elliott wave, this current impulse wave we had 3, which was so long. It went from 158 to 174. Hello. I believe that's wave 3. If that's wave 3 and wave 1 to 2 was not that brief, I believe this pullback will be significant to roughly the peak of D over here, which puts us to about 163, 164 area. That's where I'm going there. And once we bottom off there, the 5th wave, will it be truncated, only get us a little higher, or will this take us to the top of the trend line, topping off somewhere around the 182 to 184 area, which coincides with previous resistance areas?
I think it's fascinating because there's it's like a really different ways to approach it. So often you and I will have this conversation and we'll say we're talking about Litecoin, and you'll say this is what I think will happen, and I'll say to you, well, for my method, okay. So I'm talking about my method, and by the way, I can only teach you my method. I don't want to judge other ones. Someone in the chat just asked why I don't use more indicators. I have before. At this point in time, this is the setup I like. It's simple. It works for me. So for this method, I'd be looking where's it going to bounce to. Number one, I'd be looking for a trend line back test. So I'd extend out my trend line, and I'd be looking to see this is the secondary support level. But initially, I'd be looking at a horizontal support level. I would be looking at what I would call the most logical area of support, which is going to be likely this area here. So you could either look potentially on this large wick. This probably was a flash move with not a lot of volume behind it. So you want to kind of surmise without using an indicator like a volume by price, which is a really nice indicator, which I would maybe add. I might add that in, But regardless, you can surmise there's some volume here in these candles. So I'm going to say your first level of support, it's your second. So first level of support is probably going to be this wick here. This is your number 1 level there. Boom, 1, potentially 2 here in this top wick, but most likely right here, on this horizontal level right there, and then boom, a back test if it really pulls back. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Real quick, I want to remind people, if you enjoy this content, I'm on Twitter at BigCheds. On that site, I've linked where you can see, get to this page, my YouTube page, where you can subscribe. If you like this content, more videos are coming. On my blog, I talk about a lot. I get a lot of questions on Twitter. Why do you use Bollinger Bands, or what hard wallet should I use? What exchange should I use? Pretty much any question you have, you can find here. I mean, that's the point. And if it's not here, I want to know so I can add it. So this is almost like a living document. Big Jonas?
Yeah, Ched's blog is an excellent resource, and I think what's important about what he just said is that we're constantly learning. We're constantly trying to hone our skills. So, the more questions asked, the more it makes us say, let's investigate that. Let's look at the chart maybe in a different way than we didn't think before. And that opens up all new possibilities. Interacting with each other and being kind of open with what our thoughts are. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There really isn't a dumb question in this, because we can constantly learn, and the volatility and the constant price action of crypto. I mean, this is keep going on for quite a while. I got a couple questions here, if you don't mind. I'd like to answer. This is not Eric Overa and Edge. I do use Fib and Fib retracement tools, and I do plan to hopefully incorporate that later into future shows. I'm still actually trying to have a little more understanding about it. So until I feel I'm kind of up to the task to, kind of add those to the charts we talk about and discuss, I want to kind of get a little better at that. And but there's lots of different ways that we can basically approach these tools here, and that's what's great about a lot of the tools and the charting that's available for us. Like a lot of the math, a lot of the hard stuff that used to be really hard to calculate, is all there for us. There's tremendous resources, and we want to learn more about what other tools are out there, because constantly there's so much stuff happening that we can't even see and control of. So let's keep it rolling here, and let's go to the next topic.
So there's two topics I really wanted to talk about. So let's just go ahead and open this up here. So this is kind of what we were kind of discussing, what we want to talk about today. So I want to talk about regulation and then market psychology. So What's kind of the more interesting one to jump on first?
Let's talk about regulation first, because I think market psychology will allow us to rant a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's a great call. So I'm going to go ahead and first start with this poll I did earlier, and the question is regulation good or no? It's not. That's not the question. Well, yeah, is it good? Is it bad, or is it neutral? So this is what I put to the people, and a lot of what I do is I want it to be. I talk about this a lot, crowdsourced. So I don't want to be the one who walks around and says I know everything. I want to know kind of what people think, and let's have through the thought exchange. That's where you get the best idea. So here we are. And it looks like, maybe contrary to what some people were thinking, what you call the common wisdom a day or two ago was that it was bearish. It looks like 55% of people are bullish. So what I've done here, Big Jonas, is I have set up this thread. Let's just quickly scan this thread. I wanted to see people's reactions, and you let me know anything jumps out. Because what I like about a lot of my tweets is they become a forum, and we get a lot of idea exchange. So let's just, or do you want to with your tool there? We're gonna find a couple of these interactions here. Reasons for or against. So here we go. I mean, here basically. The common wisdom is that regulations, if you make it tougher, it can bring in institutional capital, and if it's done responsibly, right? So that's the bullish argument, right? Big Jonas, is that if you regulate it, then institutional money can come in.
Well, for future cryptocurrency to really be available to the masses, and by that I mean to be on the Fidelities and the Chases and the J.P. Morgan exchanges of the world, regulation is going to have to play. The G20 basically talking about regulating and not destroying or preventing. These are positive steps. So, it's fine that regulation can happen. It's important that it does happen for the long-term viability, really, of all cryptocurrency. Now, you could argue, are we in a short-term bullish but super long-term, short-term bearish but super long-term bullish pattern? I mean, that's the optimistic view. I'd love to believe that. I'd love to believe in a year from now we'll be at 30,000 Bitcoin, maybe. I don't know. In 2 years from now, 50,000. Lots of predictions over 10 millions. But you have to ask yourself, if that's the case, and if you're just long-term bullish, are you willing to, buy and hold? Are you a trader? Do you want to play this move? If you bought at the top of 19,000, do you have to want to hold it until it gets back there? Or are you going to buy more Bitcoin at half the price in a month from now? Who the heck knows? And that's what, charting and basically playing around and being smart. A lot of this is investing. It still is investing. This money that you need to know that is this the kind of money you can play with and lose, this kind of money you want to basically move to the future. If these are things that keep you up at night, these are things that every trader basically has to deal with. Just want to kind of talk about a couple more I see here. I think one that's really important is about the volatility of the market. And I think what has kind of turned a lot of people off as basically the viability of Bitcoin being, a transactional currency. How do you buy a pair of sneakers with Bitcoin when the price jumps $100, $200, $300 in a day? Or if in a super downtrend or a super uptrend, maybe people don't want to spend their Bitcoin on a pair of sneakers, just using that as an example. Maybe there's another currency, another crypto that will be more of an easier usage for exchanges. So until that gets ironed out, until the volatility basically settles, and I don't even know what that means. What does a settling of volatility mean? If there's a finite amount of Bitcoin out there, 21,000 that will basically be mined in the future, and we're at about 21 million, and we're at about 18 million right now mined, how does that even affect the volatility? So these are things that will play out over several years to come. But I think the point is that regulation over the long term will be a very good, positive, bullish thing for Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Yeah, I think that kind of also really stands to reason. Like that's just really, it really makes a lot of sense to me. I think so. We have the argument. Like I'll just real quickly. This is Ched's, and this is my man Jonas, and we're happy to have you here. Let's talk crypto. So the argument again, the bullish argument is that regulation will bring stability, institutional money. I think a more fundamental argument that I've seen against it is that regulation is kind of against the whole decentralization point. The point of crypto is decentralization, so it's kind of anti thetical. I don't know if there's probably a better word I'm trying to think of, but regardless, that's where we're at. There's one more topic I wanted to talk on, so that's regulation. This is what I want to talk about. I had a couple points during the day where I had these epiphanies, and here's one of them. So this is kind of where the roof has fallen down. It's 2 days ago, and we always talk about this. It's like you're holding something and it's going down, and you see like let's say like 3 or 4 4-hour candles that are really bad, right? And you're thinking, do I need to sell now before it goes lower? And you're seeing Twitter and you're checking around, and we realize it's like when everyone is super bearish, that's usually when other people who have been waiting and who are smart, right? When other people who are waiting and have been smart like start loading. So I just have you get this. I mean, there's charts, but then there's also reading the field and reading the taking the temperature of what's going on, and it just feels, sometimes it feels like bottom. That's how you know it's bottom, right? And that's how you know it's top, when everyone's so bullish and it's going to the moon and blah 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 blah, right? When it's at 10K and you're hearing 20 to 30K, okay, it's top. When it's at like 9K, 8K, and you're hearing 4K, it's bottom. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So, do you want to add anything to that? But that's kind of what I feel. Let's jump back into some analysis. Let's keep the process rolling here. Those are some things we wanted to kind of talk about, give you guys perspective. So let's get Ethereum done. Let's jump into the altcoins. We can take some questions. I know Jonas likes checking out the chat room. He keeps an eye on what you guys are saying. Let's do Ethereum here. See if anything's jumping out. I'm going to go ahead and check the daily. Let's start from there. I don't have any bottom trend line drawn, but I'm really just going to look at the candles. And really, the thing, my eye, when you have your eyes trained for something, it immediately goes to something first subconsciously. I go right to the lowest candle and near the Bollinger Band, and I want to see what's going on. And I see you get a signal here. Doesn't mean it's an instant signal, but you get some type of a bottom forming signal. You get a little confirmation here with the cross, and then you're seeing this candle, and you don't know which way it's going. Is it a hanging man? Is it a kind of a hammer there? What is it? Long-legged doji. So you got to kind of wait and see. So what would make sense to me is the reason why it looks like this is because it doesn't know and you don't know. And the reason why is because you've had such a drastic pullback. Often what you will see here is you see this doji form, then you have to have consolidation. So what we're going to do, we want to see the consolidation. We look closer, we go 4 hour. What we see is our nice bottom here. So now you're worried about in the 4 hour. You're still in a bear pennant. Okay, that's what you're worried about. What does a bear pennant look like? Right, we're just going to quickly draw what that might look like. Now, this is one way to draw it. What's nice is if you don't want like the 4 hour, you could probably go to the 2 hour and draw a whole different pattern. It's like that's the thing. You can draw whatever you want. That's not even the way I want to draw that line. But anyway, I'm going to go like this. We'll get this out of the way. I'm just going to show you guys. So this is kind of what my eye sees right away, and I see a bear's pennant. What's nice about this is if you can break this, you get somewhat of a buy signal. If it breaks this, you're going to get your buy signal, and then what you're going to see, you're going to ask yourself is, can it break this horizontal resistance area? So that's what you'll see, and that's if you're lucky enough to break the upper Bollinger Band. That's what I'm seeing on Ethereum. What do you think about that, Big Jonas?
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with, like, yes, this could be a bear pennant, and it is basically showing signs of potentially being that. If you look back here, I mean, we had something similar right here on a smaller scale and similar right here. Maybe the difference this time is this could actually be bullish because of the capitulation bottom we had. We were previously on the daily, and I mean, good Lord, I'm just going to take that up for a second here. No,
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, get rid of all these lines here if you could
Okay.
for just a
Okay,
moment
go ahead.
here. Because this candle here was so incredibly long, I mean, I don't know how much better you can get with a sense of where the market feels this price action should be. Because we have 4 days of relatively tight closing price action, and we just started our first candle here. So right, we have 3 confirmed days, thank you, Chets, of significant but tight price action. Volatility. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some volatility today. That's fine. but I love the tight price action here. And I believe this more signifies a trend reversal and less signifies another potentially bull trap leg of this continued consolidation. Now, again, these are all short-term ideas I have. Because we probably will hit resistance as we approach 600, and that kind of fallen in line with this trend basically line right here, and also 600. Every $100 we're going to climb, there's going to be a psychological kind of barrier there. It has been changing, or it has been flowing with the basically correction of Bitcoin, and will continue. It also had a slightly larger bounce than Bitcoin and Litecoin did. But perhaps that was only because it was so much more oversold. And that's the kind of a risk versus reward opportunity that you have to look at, where Ether was super oversold, relatively speaking. Now, on the daily here, we have time to move here. So even though the 4-hour has been topped off quite a bit here and is overbought, if you take a broader perspective here, we're talking about room to run here on the daily. And, I would like to see a little more OBV strength. And that might come in the next few days as we basically figure out where we're at here. But this could basically signal that we could have a nice run similar to our previous bottom. What happens when we hit our first resistance line? And does that coincide with the Bitcoin and Litecoin resistance lines as well in terms of timing? It probably does. So we'll see when we get there. But right now, I believe we are in a steady uptrend. The daily chart suggests it.
Really good analysis. Just to close, I said bear flag, but it's what I said because it makes sense. It's just a consolidation, so it could go either way because you had a long pullback and you have this signal's nice. So it's like even if it breaks a bear flag, you would think it would go lower because it's already said this bottom. This candle's telling you it's probably bottom here. So get those chart requests ready, guys. We're going to take those real shortly, but I want to start real quickly. I want to go to the Binance. I want to take a look at the top charts, and we're going to pull these up. And Big Jonas and I, we're going to go ahead and do these. So let's start with this one here. We're going to go to see the AST. We got 18% 24-hour volume change. So we're just going to rip down some of these real quick, and then we're going to jump in those chart requests. Daily chart, where do you want to go? 4-hour? I'm going to go daily or 4? 4. Let's go 4-hour. And we're going to do these a little bit quickly today. So 4-hour, this is a new candle I'm going to ignore. I'm seeing what we had as a nice 4-hour period where we initially broke out of a consolidation move. We had a bullish pennant pattern. We broke out. We were able to sustain the move, not only breaking the upper Bollinger Band, but able to test the previous big high up here and closed, gave up a bunch of it. So this is one of those probably retraces, but might not kind of candles. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, is it moving with the same veracity as Bitcoin was? It actually had a much more of a bullish move yesterday. And if you basically take a larger view here, we're kind of daisy chaining here, but we are moving in a higher low pattern here. And that's definitely something you want to be looking at right now. Have we bottomed? Basically, we tried it twice. Nice little U-shaped stock and RSI reset. Definitely a little overbought here on the 4-hour, but look at that OBV. I mean, that is what we're talking about. We rose, and now we're holding, even though we haven't really risen too much on the actual price point there. And just the angle of that, we see some divergence there potentially. We're going down still, but the OBV is coming up. That's basically showing you the market feels this area here, what's the 35 to 3,000. That's your zone there. This is our bottom. And if you go back here, does that coincide with a higher high from our previous bottom before our most recent parabolic run? Potentially. So this is going to play out a while, but from an R versus R factor here, with the OBV, the way it's reacting, these are some positive signs here. Because of this super wick here, I wouldn't be surprised if we do another reset and bounce off this current trend line and move along from there.
I think it's really good analysis. I would just add, let's just go ahead and throw out another scenario real quick and we'll move on. What if I draw another trend line from here, Big Jonas? What if I drew another trend line here? What if I said, I'm going to go ahead and take into account this drastic move of the on-balance volume? I was initially pointing out to you, look at the bullish divergence. The angle from here to here, it's a larger move in terms of scale. So that shows me there's a big sentiment change. Like when I see OBV, I think sentiment too. Do you think, So I say, okay, yes, but this is like a secondary support to be Big Jonas. Okay, I say if there's a more bullish scenario, what you're going to look to do is potentially flag again. So wherever that flag plays out, you could have a long flag that could play out here if you extend this line, right? You could have a long flag, so you never know. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to the next one. We have NAV is having a really good day. Let's do NAV. Okay, I'm just going to type in NAV. BTC. Let's go ahead and pull this up. We'll go Binance. I believe they're going to have the most volume. That's going to show up right here. All right, so first glance, obviously it's hot. This is a new candle. We're only 30 minutes into this candle. We're already have big gains. So if I'm in this play right now, Big Jonas, and I'm trying to ask myself, what am I going to do? What I'm thinking, I drew that a little lower than I intended to. What I'm thinking is I'm going to look to see kind of here. See this area? I'm going to see if we can. I'm going to see how the price interacts with this area. Okay. Yeah, it's hot, but it was hot here and it kept going. Look at that peak right there. So yeah, what do you see?
Yeah, this has been a really incredible move here we have since bottoming out here. I love this basically bottom. What would you call it? A doji or a?
Okay, that's almost an abandoned baby, but it wasn't able to actually clear the lower wick of the prior or the successive candle. So it really just looks like a spinning top, but it's an abbreviated one.
Yeah, or maybe it's a slight inverted hammer. I don't know. Basically, it signified a decent bottom after this pretty big sell-off we have here. Now we're in a great impulse wave up. Clearly, this is going to be our first resistance point right here. A lot of historic, history in this area here. This has been downtrending though for quite some time here. You really got to pull back and understand what kind of a move this has been having for so long. Are we catching a bottom here? I mean, maybe we've seen other areas where we have nice long wicks down, followed by a nice impulse wave up, only to be rejected in a continued downtrend. I mean, this is a good wave here, but are we continuing, on this downtrend here? The daily says we maybe have some more room to run, but it seems like every time we top off here, that's where the party's over, and we go basically right down.
Great analysis. Let's keep it rolling, guys. We're going to go to REQ. REQ BTC. Look, it's a nice day here. 17%, and we see 230 Bitcoin volume. All right, we're gonna get to the one people are asking about, guys. Don't worry, but I'm just gonna be a man of discipline for once in my life. We're gonna do REQ. We're just gonna go down the list. We'll do the top 5. I think that's a nice format, and then we can roll through to the requests. And this one here looks like it's actually on the daily chart looks good. It's a new candle. I'm gonna go 4-hour. This is interesting. We're still kind of stair-stepping here. I see a stair-stepping pattern. I see what I see, boom. If I want to know what's going on, I want to know what's going on right here, right? I want to know what's going on right here. I want to know if I know Big Jonas is looking at me like you're ruining the show. The trend line is askew. It's okay though. It's okay, folks. Don't worry. It's not going to blow up. So check it out. Look. You really go, what is this? What is it? You're always asking yourself, what pattern is it? Like in nature, you know how the human brain works? And the human brain works where we see something and we try to access like a library in our brain. Like what concept that we have filed away does this match? Like, what am I seeing? Is it a window shade? Okay, is it a table? Is it a mouse? I'm looking at this chart. It's like, what do I see? Is it a bull pennant? Is it whatever, right? So the question is, where's it going to potentially run into trouble? It's already moving strong. We're looking at overbought stochastics, a nice on-balance volume, and it's gonna test this prior large upper wick. The benefit it has, I will say this before I pass it off to you and we move on. The benefit it has that I want you guys to notice is when you're retesting a certain area, you want to see what's different or the same as last time. So go ahead and let me just quickly point out a couple things here briefly. Thank you. So the difference between this test and last test, and I don't know if you know what I'm about to say, is look at the proximity from the upper Bollinger Band. So when it was here and it was up here, anybody's looking at this is like, what is it doing up here? But when you're here, you could potentially fill a candle body and even retest this area in the next candle. And that actually would actually make sense with the pattern. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to test it this candle. You can actually fill a candle and then test it in the next candle, and then it actually wouldn't look crazy. You could even potentially reset the RSI. Let's talk here real quick and move on.
Yeah, a very bullish signal here is the fact that we did try and pierce that upper previous support area or resistance area, and we were way overbought, and we did it again, and we basically got rejected. But now we've taken our time, and we've basically gotten back up there in a much more orderly fashion. So request network token, 24.88 current price here. I mean, that's basically something that I think is really trying to push up, and I love the continued consolidation here. And if we can zoom out just a little bit right here, um, have we bottomed? Have we bottomed from this tremendous drawback over months? Not bad. And because we're finding the support change in a good historic area here, where similarly we had a top off here, a few days of consolidation, and then our parabolic move here. So is it possible that we found a nice bottom here? Great wick there, but daily says we might be topping off here. A little more room to run. Wouldn't be surprised if we top off from the previous resistance point.
No, here's what I think you're doing. You're over counting this candle's RSI impact. We're only like an hour into a 24-hour candle. So you almost have to do the same way. Here's what I'm trying to say to Big Jonas. The same way you discount this candle here because it's 1 hour. You discount this, in our eyes, looks like like a half an inch of the stock RSI. So really, the stock RSI is still right here. It's not all the way up here and overbought. Do you see what I'm saying? Because just as we don't take into account this candle and draw a signal off of it, right? We don't take into account this little move here. So let's just go ahead and move on. I'm gonna do number 4. I'm gonna have Jonas do it, and then I'll jump it, and we'll do the number. You guys are waiting for TRX. We'll do that right after ENG. So we're gonna do. What's that? Yeah, it's okay. We're gonna do ENG anyway. I'm gonna do the top 5. We'll do this one real quick. ENG to me looks nice little candle here. Little morning star, nice hammer, and we're gonna, we've got a little bit of momentum here, potentially testing the middle Bollinger, but I don't see a nice surge on balance.
Yeah, this is a great example of divergence here, where basically you see a deflating OBV with a rising price point there. Almost feels like it's dumping into buying pressure. So even though it's had some pretty good price action here, it doesn't really feel like it's a sustained move.
Okay, let's go ahead and do TRX number 5. Then we're going to go right to the chat room for the chart requests. I know Big Jonas, and by the way, this is Ched's guys. We're going to take those requests for you. TRX had quite a move today. Before we go further, to put it in context in the daily chart, we did have a nice precursor candle yesterday where we did respond to this dip below the Bollinger Band, formed the nice hammer, and we had this nice follow-up candle here yesterday, or 2 days ago now. And this was yesterday's candle. It's quite spectacular. We're going to go to the 4-hour look here. What I'm seeing on the 4-hour now is quite interesting. So if I'm following along, and I know this thing's been really dogged, and I'm looking at this big downtrend, I see these 2 candles here at the bottom, and then I see this move to the upper Bollinger, Big Jonas. When I see these 2 candles here, you're thinking like me, pullback. Am I right, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, when you hit the upper Bollinger there, that's basically that resistance point. We pierced it, once, twice, couldn't pierce it on the 3rd attempt, and that's basically what precipitated
a lower high here too, right? On this one from the prior candle, so that would have been a signal.
That's
right?
A little higher.
No. This candle was higher than that one. So the 3rd candle hit a lower wick high.
Lower wick high,
which is kind of a signal of a decreasing momentum.
It definitely felt like the bulls on that one were tiring out, but we got a good reset. And because, look at that, we actually rode the upper Bollinger all the way up over the past several 4-hour periods.
Let's look a little closer on the 1 hour. Maybe there's some clues how that happened, because we don't see it on the 4-hour. So let's just go ahead and take a look here. So what we were looking at before is we hit the upper Bollinger. And what we saw here, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to point this out. A lot of times people say to me, that's hidden bearish divergence. The price is rising while this oscillator, the RSI, is falling. That's bullish to me, because what we had is when a coin can, or a stock, when it can cool off, Jonas. And by the way, this is Ched's Big Jonas. When a stock or a coin can cool off while the price is rising, that's bullish, because look what happened. That's how it made a new leg, because it was already quote unquote overbought. That's textbook.
There's a couple things you have to understand about charting. Is that news, price action, risk versus reward. These are all things that can move a price and move a chart. So, things that are pump and dumps, things that might be considered scams and everything. Uh, the chart will tell a story about what it could potentially do if money flow comes in. And that's the biggest thing here. It takes money flow every time to move a chart. So whether we're talking about TRX here on this move, or this move, I don't care if there was some major announcement or whatever. If that news, if that some moment, even if it was a bullish move in Bitcoin, if that was enough to put money flow into one of these tokens, the basic legitimacy behind it at that moment is relevant. Money flow is money flow. So you have to think about these kind of moves here in the moment. We have a good bottoming here on the hourly. Basically, it shows that the 4 hourly shows at this moment here, we may have found a bottom. I actually do like how it bottomed here with a super long red candle, nice wick, a retest with a higher high, and boom, there was our bullish momentum. Also, we were significantly, way outside the lower Bollinger in the 4 hour there. When we're oversold, like we are here, and this is why the Bollinger is so great to use. I mean, even if it's, I don't care about it. What kind of coin it is? It's an oversold. It's a chart area where you're saying the risk versus reward might be better. Even better down here when the stock is completely bottomed off. So even though this felt like way oversold move here, we had room to go down. That's why this impulse wave was much smaller than the current one, because right here was our legitimate absolute volume bottom, and the OBV with this V bottom here is showing that as well.
That's great. That's a really great call. Let's do a real quick update in Bitcoin just so we can kind of get a sense of where the market's at. We're going to do a 15-minute look. We're going to go right to the chat room. We're going to do Big Jonas. You're going to pull some questions and some charts in the chat room. I'm going to give people my opinion real quick. We're going to go and just quickly, we're 8,900 on its face. That looks good. We're holding our gains. I'm going to take a look at the 1 hour chart. 1 hour chart, we're still consolidating. Candles are okay. We're going sideways. So, looks pretty solid. We're just kind of churning. What we're doing here is I see we're actually holding our gains while we're cooling off a little bit. So just really quickly, I think it looks pretty solid here, Churn.
Yeah, I'm actually really encouraged by at least the past few hours price action here. I was actually expecting a pretty, let's say a defined pullback here, some sort of a long wick potentially, some sort of a let's shake out everybody, see where we're happening here. And, the Bulls weren't having it. We basically were only able to get down to 88.20, and then boom, we came right back up. And now this hour, I mean, we're around 51 minutes into it, and we're showing some basically basing stabilization here. We have 1, 2, 3, 5 points here of this 88, 99, almost 8,900 range here, where the market's saying, hey man, for right now, this is our bottom. We're putting a base in here. We're cooling off on the hourly. I want to see that go down a little bit more. Our 4 hour, still super bullish, needs a pullback, but it could hang on here for longer, while I try and find a little more time here. Again, time is our friend at this point. I'd be fine with many more hours of sideways action. Reset everything, add some more consolidation. The longer we're at this price point on this upward trend, the better the bulls have a chance to push it even higher.
All right. It's great. A great quick update. Big Jonas, and by the way, this is Ched's. While you're going ahead, why don't you check the chat room? Why don't you find a couple charts for us? I'm going to quickly remind everyone, if you like our content, please find me on Twitter, @BigCheds. Please feel free to reach out. I have my blog, chedstrading.blogspot.com. Probably the most popular article is the Complete Beginner's Guide to Crypto Trading. If you're not sure how to start charting, you want to go ahead and just click on number 4, the Chart Basics section. And I talk about my method. I use the Bollinger Bands quite heavily. I go ahead and lay out for you how to use the Bollinger Bands. I use the on-balance volume, which is a key indicator. For me, I use stochastics RSI. And I really try to put as much effort as I can into this guide. I'll be honest, I'll be a little bit selfish here. I want to save myself time. I get a lot of questions. So people say, why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why did you say this? What does this mean? Go ahead, click on the guide. Another thing is I throw out a lot of terms. So I'm going to kind of clumsily here, just kind of go to back to the top of the screen. common terminology. So you kind of want to know what's what. Like, what's a Satoshi? You know? Okay, right here. Here's just what a Satoshi is. So what's a moving average? You know, what does it mean to be decentralized? Paper trading, privacy coin, what's FUD? You know, the things you hear. If you're someone who's just like brand new to the scene, and you don't want to be the guy who's at the party, right? And you're in a conversation, Big Jonas, where everyone's talking, and then there's like a laugh, and you don't get the joke, right? That's what this is here for. This is going to help you guys out. You got to check out the blog. So let's go ahead. I don't want to bore you too much, and I'll, of course, subscribe. Where are we going? Give me the where are we going, buddy?
All right, Chads, we got lots of requests here. It's great to see everybody on the chat. I'm happy to see Phil Cohen also on our chat this evening. Truly honored. Let's start with XLM, Stellar Lumens. I think it's a very popular one because I think long term this one basically has some real backing behind it and a lot of attention. And it has just had quite an interesting move here. Just a great impulse basically move from our bottoming here. Great hammer candle there, basically signifying we may have found a bottom and a great bullish impulse move there on after with continued consolidation with an upward trend. Pierce the upper Bollinger there. Whoa, too fast, too quickly. Let's pull it back. Let's reset. We're way over bottom the 4 hour. Been here for a very long time. Let's see that guy come down a little lower and reset the volume price.
It's a great call. Yeah. Sometimes you make what I talk about as a price movement outside of a standard deviation. You have to constantly remind yourself about what channel trading is, and price moves in a channel because for every guy who thinks it's going to 10, there's the guy who bought it at 7 and wants to sell it at 8. Okay, so let's keep things in perspective, folks. I think Big Jonas is right. You have interesting candle here, which signifies a potential bottom. You have your follow up here, your follow through confirmation. You get a bit of a bear trap, kind of a candle here, where this is a really weird lower wick, but you did what we talked about in the last show. You essentially had a double bottom test and hold. You are showing over bought, but you know what? Before we move on, what you want to do is go into at least a 1 hour, and I don't really go 15-minute unless there's something interesting going on. What I see on the 1 hour, I see this clear candle here. You see a kind of a shooting star. What is it? Almost like a gravestone doji. Not a candle you want to see. You get your spinning top, you get your follow through, bearish candle. You get another kind of almost a long-legged doji. You get this is a spinning top forming, but you're really consolidating. What I would want to see, I will want to see here is middle Bollinger Band, how it plays with it. So even if you dip and you can hold it, I'd want to see what happens there. So you give the stochastic some time to cool off, and we'll go. What's the next one?
Chads, we got a request from Mike Dubb, XEM.
All right, I'm going to stay in the 1 hour and I'm going to shift out on the 4 hour. And a lot of times, when I'm waking up in the morning and in between my coffee and the 200 push-ups and sit-ups I do every morning. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not doing any of that. I go 4 hour, 1 hour, because that gives me a quick, medium and short. I see a nice move here, big flagpole. You have too far, too fast, as you put it. You're coming back and trying to find a bottom. When I want to know what's going on here, Big Jonas, I look right here. These two candles here tell me bottom. It's like a stamp. Someone's like, it's like, in Game of Thrones, and they're sending a little letter, and they put their seal. That's what this is. Okay, you got this tweezer bottom, double bottom, twin candles, and you're going to go sideways. The only question is, how long do you go sideways for, right? And that's what I see. What do you see here?
The thing I really like to see here is after this massive impulse wave here, on the retracement, we put in a higher high, and as you said, signified by these tweezer candles right here on the 1 hour. Basically tried to break this twice. It was rejected, and now we're kind of on an upward trajectory here. I've followed NEM for a while here. It's really had some great price action back in the day, and perhaps it is putting in a higher low from this bottom we had back here in December. And if you even zoom back farther, we are on an upward trend, even though we've had some massive runs and massive pullbacks. This probably does, though, have farther to retrace because it would still put it at an upward move, even if it went as low as 1,500 to 2,000 Satoshi.
Okay, possibly. But before I'm going to make a counter argument. What you're going to want to watch now is for what's a higher low. You've got a low here, Jonas. You've got a low here, and then you've got a low here, and now you're potentially putting a new low here. And when I talk about lows, and you hear me in this show or on Twitter at Big Ched's talking about lows, it's the close. So you're looking for close. You still have a higher low. So until this low is violated, I'm not thinking about going lower because you have a potential trend reversal. Because arguably, I'm going to make the counter argument where you said it probably go lower. You have a trend line. You have a downtrend break, and you have essentially a back test of that downtrend line. So it kind of depends on how clumsily you want to draw it, because that was pretty clumsy what I just did. Because really you should be looking for the close of the candle. And then I'm looking, it's around here. So regardless, you broke a downtrend. So you have to give it a little bit of benefit of the doubt and see if it holds the higher low. What's the next one in the chat room? Let's keep it moving on here, folks. We gotta keep the people happier. They're not going to come back next time.
Chads, we have so many requests here. It's so hard to pick one.
Okay, we just get them. We'll just knock them off and make sure you call out their name so you know that we appreciate them.
All right, so let's see here. Let's pick one. All right, SJ Sinjab, MCO, you win.
Okay, let's go MCO. I'm gonna take a look at MCO. I'm gonna go 4 hour. Pardon the interruption. I'm an important man, at least in my own mind here. I'm gonna go 4 hour on MCO, and what we see here, Big Chonas Monaco, is what we see on Monaco is we see it had this long move up here, and you're looking at essentially a Bollinger Band pinch at the base of where the move happened. So the bulls had their fun, and really this candle was pretty tough right up here, giving you a sign you might come back. At this point, you were looking to see if this prior support area would hold. You lost your middle Bollinger. You lost your prior support here at this previous high. And then you kind of hit this lower Bollinger Band support. And what did I say earlier? Boom, there's your stamp, your tweezer bottom, your double bottom, double wick right there. So right now what you're trying to do is you're holding this level. You're kind of overbought, but I don't know. Where's our volume? Can you turn the volume back on for me, Big Jonas? I feel like I'm a little lost without the volume on. Or do I just go over here? I got it, homie. Yeah, we're just going to go right there. We're just going to apologize. We're just going to go all the way down. I feel a little bit goofy. Yeah, because everything's in context. And I apologize. The strength of any signal, Big Jonas, is the volume. So what I see here, that's fine because it's not on Binance. What I see here is, like I said earlier, and I'll pass it on to you. You had the big move, the pullback. You're going sideways, a Bollinger pinch, but it's a low volume Bollinger pinch. Let's just move on here. What's the next one?
So we got a few more requests here, and then we'll probably just finish up on the majors. Let's do ADA, ADA. It's always a popular one.
Okay, we're going to go to ADA. I know ADA had an interesting day today. ADA on the 4 hour, we're really in a nice healthy move here. What I see that just happened, Big Jonas, that jumps out to me, and I always like to point out first impressions, just like in a date. It's your first, your first thought is always your best. You know how you outthink yourself? You're like, oh man, I should have gone with what I thought first. We just broke the prior high. So that's what's bullish to me. That's my first impression. Actually, my first impression was it's bullish and it's still not an upper Bollinger. My second one, which I should have seen first, is you broke this prior high. So what are you seeing here in front of us?
Yeah, ADA's had a really strong move, and a strong move even relative to the recent Bitcoin bounce here. You go to the daily here, we were pretty bottomed out here, that's for sure. Now we're ripping up, and I like the OBV increase there. Hourly, we zoom in, we have continued price action. Great volume for days here. Super tight bottom there. We tried 1, 2, 3 hours there. That was a very close bottom there. Signified 3 times. Super tight price action, and we've been basically running ever since. This one, little topped off. Good reset on the hourly would be basically expected. Been riding the upper Bollinger for a very long time. Let's see a little price action kind of consolidation, and that'd be something I want to keep an eye on because there definitely is some significant money flow finally flowing back into ADA, otherwise known as Cardano.
Okay, let's go ahead and continue on. Let's get another one, please, from the chat room. And then once again, this is Ched's. We're here on Let's Talk Crypto, episode 6. Let's Talk Crypto, and that conversation only happens with you guys. Without that, it's just me and this guy. we've been doing this for years, and it's not nearly as interesting when it's just me and him going back and forth, yelling at each other, arguing over whether something's going up or down. Let's go to the chat room. Let's get another one.
All right, Mikey Sass, ICX. We have requests there. Also, Qubit Vector also has requested ICX. So let's take a look at ICX. Chronic to ICX as well.
That's a good job. Let's make sure we get the most requested ones. ICX, I'm going to go 4 hour, 1 hour, which is the way I like to approach it. We're seeing a nice healthy move. We have some nice buying pressure here. We've got a 1, 2, 3 type of movement. This is still a young candle, so you could essentially have a similar type of rejection where you put in this larger upper wick. When I look at this and I want to kind of diagnose it, I want to know why it put in the upper wick. I want to look back. I'm looking back at prior support and resistance areas. I'm seeing this as an area of traffic. So we're going to have to deal with this area of traffic. On the macro, when I'm looking out, I'm seeing this kind of prolonged downtrend. I'm going to want to see potentially a more convincing downtrend break. What I do like is we have a nice volume cluster here where we are seeing some volume. I am seeing an upward trajectory in the on-balance volume, and arguably, Big Jonas, I want to point out to you, we are seeing a bullish divergence in the trajectory. If I take it from this point and I move up to here, we are seeing a bullish divergence in the on-balance volume.
Yeah, listen, I'm loving this price action right now. We really popped off this bottom here. We exploded upward. The 4 hour has been topped off for quite a while here. The daily, a little bit more room to run. We have 1, 2, 3, and we're starting our 4th day here of a green, beautiful candle. Great price action, too. I mean, solid buying all the way through. Significant bottom call here. We pierced the lower Bollinger. And the daily and the Bollinger is a great way to really tell what an oversold price is, because we were so far outside the lower Bollinger there that your risk versus reward entry there is pretty solid. When we were here again, way outside, it was because we were already topped off of our parabolic move. You cannot compare these two because this was a parabolic move. Parabolic moves give you parabolic suckouts. This has been a consolidated, slowly evening consolidation, bottomed out here, but we're a little topped off here. But one more thing I want to basically point out, and I'm going to go back right to the 1 hour one more time here, is this has been quite a downtrend, So yeah, we've had a good bottom here. We've come back a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we basically top off 1, 2, 3, 4 until we kind of chill out for a little bit here and see if this has an actual a complete paradigm change where we're now rising again, or are we going to top off again and continue this very elongated downtrend?
That's a great point. I'll just quickly leave you and I'll further that thought. We're still moving. It's trying to consolidate here, and you can see it cooling off. We're still moving up. So if you can beat this area, then you can potentially test this area. But let's check out Litecoin here real quick. Litecoin, oy vey. I'm going to go ahead and go to GDAX, and we'll start there. And Big Jonas, you want to take us through what you're seeing here, please?
Yeah, personally, I use GDAX for my day trading activities with the majors here. I love, and this is something that I've kind of learned basically by just studying. What we're seeing here is the depth chart, and basically that tells you where is the money parked right now. And in our most recent downtrend we've had with the majors coming down here, a lot of our money was parked very low at a lower price than Bitcoin was. So when we were coming down here, all the money was parked much lower, had our tweezer bottom here, which I love on the 6 hour, which is a great way to get a kind of a more broader sense with still a little more bullish intent there. And basically, if I zoom out here, I'm seeing a relative equivalency on where the money is parked here. I'm liking that because it was super bearish before. And that basically always translates to Bitcoin, which for a while was super bearish, but now I'm seeing divergence here. I'm seeing basically money parked on both sides here. I'm seeing it almost a little more bullish where we have less money parked at a lower price point, which is basically the assumption that we're still going up. And boy, have we had a credible move here. So this is telling me that if you're still holding because you feel this is a current uptrend here, I think we actually have some room to run here. until I see a change, until I see the money parked much lower at a lower price point, I'm going to remain very bullish.
So I think it's really good. Thank you for taking us through that. I think it's important to get multiple signals in multiple directions, and it's not only important to look at the chart, but it's important to look at other sources like a GDAX depth chart. So real quickly, I'm just going to quickly give you my impression of the chart. We're seeing a nice move. We're seeing this big flagpole, and we're going sideways, and we're holding our gains while we're cooling off. That's inherently bullish. You'd say the volume's dying off. That's because you're kind of trying to find some type of catalyst or type of move. But you're in a nice position here. So I think we're in a pretty good position. We're still going sideways. I don't know that there's a clear signal right now, other than that you know that you're in a nice bullish continuation pattern. Let's get another one, please, from the chat room that you see enough requests on.
I wish I could understand Asian alphabet, but EOS was requested by one of our friends here on our chat.
Okay, do you know what their name was?
I don't read Chinese.
Oh, okay. It's the gentleman with glasses. So Mr. Gentleman with glasses, and your name is Chinese, or something. No, regardless, EOS is right here. EOS. So this is kind of interesting. From a 1 hour chart, it looks like it could bounce. It doesn't mean it's going to bounce. It could bounce. And a lot of time in this situation, Big Jonas, well, it kind of did it here. Big Jonas, it's coming down. See how stochastic reset? See how the stochastic reset? And if you're skeptic, you could say it needs to go lower Bollinger, but it didn't. So it kind of reset and it bounced. We might be seeing that here, where it may not need to touch the lower Bollinger. What do you see?
Yeah, the volume's kind of been trailing off most of the day here, and a lower Bollinger test, especially on the hourly, that's what I'm looking for here. Let's retest that. Let's kind of chill out a little bit. I like the reset here on the stock and RSI. Let me pull a little wider time frame here. Look at that. Wow, that's great volume pressure. Pushed it up twice. Tweezer top. Super overbought here. Way outside the upper Bollinger. Let's bring that back. Maybe we'll run this more. At some point, we will test this middle Bollinger. And that will be a great support level to see if we have continued momentum.
Great job. We're going to take 3 more, folks, and then we're going to wrap it up. We're having a great show. We appreciate you guys contributing. This is Cheds. I'm going to hand it over to Jonas.
All right. We got a lot of requests here for Ven. Luis Marquez, Chris F., Dave R., Ganesh Reddy, Dave R. again. All right. Let's do some Ven.
I'm going to go 4 hour in Ven. The E-chain, so you got a similar pattern I saw earlier where I said it's like putting your stamp. You got this double candle bottom. You're essentially retesting a prior support area. This is on its face, looks like a value area to me, but it doesn't mean it's going to hold. This is a decent doji bottom candle, but there's not a lot of strength. It's really just almost a gravestone, but it looks like it's going to try to form a bottom. It's almost an inside bar. And here's a little bit of decent follow-up an hour into it. So that's, something. What do you see?
This one's a very unique chart. It's actually very different from a lot of the charts we kind of follow tonight. We basically see a bottom here. Sure, tweezer bottom. All right. We basically say let's not go low anymore. And we're expecting the move, right?
Bear something?
Well, we're expecting, okay, here's our impulse move, a little reset, and then another push. And instead, we've rolled over, and now we're again retesting this low. If we break, 40,000 Satoshi here, that'd be super bearish because we couldn't even hold this really significant definitive low. I want to just punch out to the daily for a little wider time frame here. Super parabolic move, consolidation, dip, more consolidation. This one's coming down. We went up so fast. If we can't hold this area here, where we were there for days of price consolidation, once again, we're coming back. This one's a little scary, guys. I think probably coming back down to this 25,000. This could have a lot more room to fall. Even though the OBV is high, we got more room to drop on the daily stocking.
I'm going to take a devil's advocate to that. I'm going to say that I like to be one step at a time. I don't like to even look that far down because what's next? People ask you, is it going to do X, Y, and Z? I want to know what it does how it interacts with the obvious next interaction point. It has to interact with this support level, Big Jonas. I'm not talking about 25,000. I mean, look, we're at 41,000, okay? We're resetting on the daily. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't see that, but I think unless you break 38, I mean, then you're looking at this level here. So I actually would probably think this actually doesn't go that much lower than right here. So let's go. What's the next one? Let's get two more. What are you seeing here?
All right, we got a lot of requests here for mana. Shout out to McCrail Greenfly, Javier Ribeiro Carballo, and a couple more.
All right, mana on the daily. I'm going to ignore this cross because this is a new candle. I want to get a little more information. I'm going to go 4 hour. We're seeing a consolidation pattern. We've had a nice move. We got this rejection. We talked about it in the last show. We're consolidating, and the Bollingers are beginning to pinch. Volumes like whatever. So what we're going to want to watch for is we're going to want to watch to see if the on-balance volume stays strong. It's strong. So what you want to see is first, can you hold the middle Bollinger? If you can't hold the middle Bollinger, which is the MA20, you want to see if you can hold this area. And then if that fails, you want to see if you can hold this area. If that fails, you want to see if you can hold this area. And of course, watch the candles.
Yeah, we had some pretty massive rejection here. 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of elongated wicks, putting in kind of lower lows or lower highs every time there. That basically was signifying we were way overbought, plus super outside the upper Bollinger there on the 4 hour. Kind of zoom out to the daily, get more of a broader sense here. We're still in this kind of consolidation pattern. We had such a very good parabolic move, brought us almost 2,000 Satoshi. I do like the fact that we've remained in this area for a while, and the leveling out of the Bollinger Bands is very encouraging. A slight reset, almost to a overcross on the MAC on the stock and RSI, and the OBV has been consistently solid. So this one definitely has some followers here, and let's look to see if we can kind of maintain this price action and put in some higher moves.
All right, we'll do one more. We're going to do one more request. We're going to do finish up with the majors, and we're going to say goodbye. Once again, this is Cheds here with Big Jonas. We are on Let's Talk Crypto. That's what we're doing. We're talking crypto. It's me and you. It's a conversation. We do it together. What's the last one?
All right, Cheds. The last one, reluctantly for me, but I know this is one of my favorites and yours. XRP, our old friend Ripple.
All right. I mean, I'd honestly feel bad if we don't do that one because a lot of people are pretty invested in it, to put it mildly. So let's go ahead and we're going to go to a 4 hour before I jump back to the daily. We're clearly consolidating. I mean, it's worse than it's not a consolidation. This is a pullback. It's more of just a classic pullback. What's nice about this, it's less ambiguous than a consolidation because you're just like, okay, we're pulling back. And what you need to do, you're going to watch for a sign where it's turning around. On a 4 hour chart, what I'd want to do, obviously, I see we have the solid support here, 73. It doesn't mean we're going to 73. What I'd want to see is if you can hold this low here in this candle, because that was a pivotal candle. And the reason why that's pivotal is what you had the bounce off of your oversold. You had your flagpole essentially. On your pullback, this was your low. So when you're looking for a higher low, as Big Jonas, this was the low. So I'm looking to see if it holds this low. If that fails, I'm looking for this Bollinger Band. All the meanwhile, watching the stock RSI while it cools off, and I'm looking for an uptick in the on-balance volume. That's how I'm going to spot the bottom. What do you think?
Yeah, this is actually a pretty significant pullback. You're pretty hopeful that this impulse wave followed by what Bitcoin has been doing right now, you want to see that kind of continuation. And basically what we're seeing here is a pretty significant pullback. And, you're right about a lot of these kind of historic price areas. We are right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are right here. If we start breaking down from here, that's a really bearish sign. I almost feel like we're actually turning over again. Now we are resetting on the 4 hour, but I really hate the sell off on the OBV. If this OBV was constant and we had more of a sell off here, I'd be a lot more bullish. But right now, this dumping on the OBV is telling me people just kind of took their profits and went home. And if we kind of just zoom out just a little bit to get more perspective here on the daily, we are tightening here. And this is a great example, another example of why the Bollinger Bands are very useful. 4 days ago, super wick on the down there, basically pierced the lower Bollinger pretty significantly, pull back above, close, reset on the stock on RSI. But what's really scary is that super bearish engulfing candle we had yesterday gave back everything we accomplished the previous day there. And now we're almost downtrending lower. So Ripple's not looking that good right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue kind of sagging there, and the OBV is showing that as well.
All right, I'd say if you're looking to pick up some more, if that's your gig, I'd watch for a dip below the lower Bollinger. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. We've had a great show. Let's do a quick, take a temperature, So you're cooking a turkey, you're cooking a steak. You want to take a temperature, right, before it's ready. All right, let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. Obviously, the daily chart is encouraging in Bitcoin. We are once again, folks, we're range bound. Just remind you when we're at this point, when you're pulling back, you want to look for what's obvious is your long-term trends. So we were in a long-term trend where we were bouncing between a lower and upper trend line. Right now, we have shown support. We've closed above a lower trend line. We are attempting to move up, but you cannot just go, 8 white soldiers. Okay, it's 3 white soldiers maybe. Okay, great. But you have to go sideways too. So you got to kind of take things in perspective. I got a couple of my friends, they'll be bullish. We'll go up here from like a 1,000-point recovery, and we'll drop $50, and they'll be texting me, "What's going on? What's happening?" Right? And they'll start going crazy. What are you seeing here, my friend? Before we wrap it up.
Yeah, we are just in a consistent, great bullish move here on Bitcoin. The day changed over. All right, let's pull it back a little bit. Let's chill out a little bit here. And we are holding strong. There is a lot of confidence right now in Bitcoin. I don't know if it has to do with kind of the Wall Street tone being a slightly bearish right now. But crypto is strong right now. Strong and yet cautiously optimistic. And that's the key here. We all know how volatile crypto can be, volatility prices here. We've had 3 amazing days of Bitcoin price action. It's brought up a lot of the market here, which has been really beaten down ever since. I just want to thank everybody personally who's basically been talking on our chat here. This has been our most watched show to date. We broke 1,000 live, which is just unbelievable. I'm super psyched to be here with my main man, Big Cheds. We really try and basically help out everybody. We're happy to basically discuss, talk, and debate crypto. We love doing it. We're doing it every day, on our own, and we figure why don't we just share it with the masses and kind of allow this to be a forum where we can discuss, debate, inform, and hopefully make a little money.
I love it. I'm honored to have you with me. I think together, it's like in chemistry, you put 2 elements together and you get something special. So thank you. And if you make it 3 elements, the 3rd element is you guys. Let's talk crypto. Join the conversation. And I love it when you guys join the conversation. This is Big Cheds. I'm here with Big Jonas. Please follow me on Twitter at Big Cheds. I like to think of myself as a newbie helper. And I only get better by your feedback. My blog, chedstrading.blogspot.com, is there for you. It's there for me. It's there for everybody. Read the articles. Get better. Give me your feedback. Follow me on Twitter. And, drive safe, guys. Make sure to tip your waiters, all right? Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.